Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. It's also very windy once again. It's always super windy. Today's video we are going to be walking around. We are at the northern part of the district called Neukölln. That is N-E-U-K-O with an umlaut L-L-N. A lot of history in this district and I will be telling you about it as we walk through it. We are currently next to the area called Hermannplatz, so Herman's place. If you were to translate it, it's directly in front of us. And we're actually going to be walking down this super long avenue that is called Sonnenallee, or Sun Street, Sun Alley. I don't know how to translate that any other way. I'm going to do a quick little loop so you can see exactly what's going on around here. Also got very lucky because this area is usually packed full of people. If you hear me mumbling, it's because I have my mask on once again. There's a lot of people, not sure what it is, but a lot of people seem to just like to sneeze into the air, and it's a little gross. Fire truck going by. I'm sure you were definitely able to hear that. So much like the other markets that take place around the city, this is another area where on Tuesdays they also have their own little markets. So I guess this would be the Hermannplatz market. I have no idea what it's actually called. You can also get a lot of really good deals around here. Not as maybe as amazing as the other market that you guys just saw, but it's still pretty good. It's also quite popular. If you're ever interested, or if you have any interest, there's a lot of documentaries actually about this district and how it kind of came to be what it is today. This entire district that we are currently in, called Neukölln, actually dates back to several hundred years. And don't ask why I know all this stuff. Unnecessary. Dates back to actually several hundred years. But the issue is that Berlin is actually made up of multiple different districts that combine into one big city, the same as every other major metropolitan city. They all have the name of their own place. But Berlin in particular was actually Neukölln, the district that we're currently in, was actually always and has always been seen as a troubled spot, a hot spot for crime and other things like that. This district in the late 1800s was full of brothels. It was kind of like the place to go if you wanted to have that kind of experience. However, the government did not care for the fact that there was an area like that in the city, and the district was formerly known before as Rixdorf, R-I-X-D-O-R-F, like literally Rix's village. However, in the northern part, somewhere around where we are, I can't tell you the exact area, was another area further north called Neukölln, and it was known as like an actual like little prestigious kind of pretty area where there were like little castles and things like that. All those things were of course bombed. As you can tell, a huge portion of the buildings, like you see the newer building and then the older building, a lot of the area is like that because nearly all of it was destroyed during the war. So what ended up happening, of course, I was trying to cross the street and wait for the light, but of course it changes again. What happened is that a lot of the the administration decided to change the name of the old district from Rixdorf to Neukölln, which is what it's been for 100 and something years. And if you actually follow this, you can see my finger, this street down, you actually get to an area called Rixdorf, which is the old representation of what the area was, and is actually one of the very few spaces in the district that wasn't actually bombed. So once the name was changed around the 1910s 10s, 20s, and 30s, it became historically, once again, a very strong artist hotspot. It still had the same appeal, if you will, for a lot of people who were looking for that nightlife kind of vibe. There were a lot of bars and cafes and things like that. But a lot of the people who ended up moving into this area around the 1930s, this is a very long light, geez Louise. A lot of the people who ended up moving into this area in the 1930s were actually, and I dare say, radicals of their time. So they were people who were against fascism, who were communists, or who were socialists. However, there was a new party that was rising to power in the area. You know which one, in the entire country. And basically when they took over, this area was also subject to a lot of fights and battles and street wars between the Nazis and between the other people who were just trying to stop them. The people who tried to stop them were, of course, squashed out, decimated, and done away with. And the main street that we're going to get over to, the Sonnenallee that we're going to be talking about, is actually known as, historically, one of the places where the Nazis actually set up a lot of their headquarters along this main street. I've heard a couple of times before why it was called Sonnenallee, which meaning once again like Sun Alley. And I think it has to do with something along the lines of at a certain time of day, the sun aligns on the street, and therefore it becomes completely sunny. Therefore, the sunny alley. But I've heard that rumor many times, but it's never been substantiated, if you will. Walking back over to the main street, just wanted to show you guys the Hermannplatz square. This is a famous kind of like hangout spot for young people. A lot of times you get people, what do you call it? A lot of times if you want to meet up with your friends and you look for like a central location, you simply tell them, meet me at the Hermannplatz. Okay, swinging back up here, here's the name of the street. So, then in the 1950s, when the area became kind of run down, this was even before the Berlin Wall, the area kind of didn't really have many people inside of it. The people who Germany, once again, if you watched the last video, Germany tried to look for a whole bunch of foreign workers. The first people who came to this area were the Italians in the 1960s, and then around the 1970s, there was a gigantic influx of people from Turkey who came to this area and basically never ended up leaving. I've read a lot about it, and I've seen a lot of documentaries about it. And basically the people say, you know, they were expected to come here for 2 years to rebuild Germany and then kind of go back to their own countries. But they're like, we rebuilt it. Like, this is also ours. A lot of people had kids here, but that's another topic for another time. And now, what's the next part? And it's crazy. I every single time I've moved to a city, I try to learn as much as I can about every single space. Around the 80s and early 90s, this area and the other northern area that you partially saw yesterday, called Kreuzberg, or like Cross Mountain, if you were to translate it, which sounds terrible, was actually known as a bit of a 1980s, 1990s Nazi hangout spot. And part of the problem is, besides that, is that they began to fight a lot of the youth in this area who had just been born from the other migrants. And long story short, the migrant children, if you will, ended up winning a lot of the street battles, and they actually pushed the Nazis further into the east of the city to an area called Lichtenberg, and also to Marzahn-Hellersdorf, where they no longer really are per se. Not since the year 2000 or so, they've kind of dissipated or gotten old, or a lot of their movement has kind of died out. But yeah, they ended up winning the area. This is why you see a lot of the names of the stores are written in Arabic or called Dubai Cafe and things like that. Every time I walk by a place that has loud music, I'm like, I know I'm going to get copyright stricken. It's so ridiculous. And then around the year 2005, there was a regeneration plan for this entire district that was done by the government. Tons of money began to flow into this area. A lot of apartments that were social housing, or housing that was mainly for or by the government, began to be converted into private property that people could then own. People began to buy up this entire area. And now since around the 2010s, it is dramatically transforming into a heavy hipster district, which a lot of people do not care for. There have been tons of protests, tons of, you name it, that have been happening here over the last 10 to 15 years, as rents have relatively skyrocketed compared to other parts of the world. For comparison, let's say I met a lot of people when I first moved here around 2010 who had 3 bedrooms and they were paying $250 per month for their entire apartment, not for one room, the entire apartment. And now a lot of these people who have these long-standing contracts, their rent is now maybe $500, $600, but this to a lot of people is very expensive here, and thus the huge amount of protests. But now, even more so, this has become a very popular student area, and the students who are moving into here are now paying $700, $800 just for a room, which seems completely ludicrous to tons of other people who live here. But then you also kind of have the idea. I love filming people and then they give me a dirty look. I don't know why, it makes me happy, but I find it very interesting. I mean, I'm also the only person like really vlogging as I walk down the street. Yeah, so a lot of the students who moved into the area have kind of risen the prices of nearly everything around here, and it's becoming very affordable. So you see a gigantic shift in the people who actually also live here, even just over the years of me being back here. A lot more younger people. This is also a very popular street right here. It goes all the way down to the river. It's called Panierstraße. You can kind of see the name on the street sign ahead of us. So yeah, it's an area that is still to this day, a lot of times when you tell older people, not so much young people. I think young people know exactly what the area is like. A lot of cafes, a lot of restaurants, a lot of really good places to eat. But when you tell older people that you're going to this area, I've actually received some stares, and people are like, why? Why would you want to go to that area? It's actually quite good. I like this area a lot. And even more so, just to clarify, it's not a bad area. Not at all, not even 1%. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. You will definitely be able to, and I say this just because I've explained and have shown people this area before, and they were kind of very intimidated by walking through this. No, I'm telling you, it's completely fine, it's completely safe, it's completely normal. People here are very, very friendly. The food here is very, very good. It's extremely inexpensive. Yeah, just wanted to clarify that because I've seen a lot of people talking crap about Neukölln, and it's not bad at all. It just happens to be if you look at an actual map, it is on the west eastern side of the actual city, basically meaning the very north of the east side of the city is a district called Prenzlauerberg, which was the first district to actually be gentrified as the Berlin Wall fell down. The next district below it was called Friedrichshain, which you're also going to see in the next couple of days. That was the next district that was gentrified, and now this is the bottom of the east-west of the city, meaning we are literally on the east of the city. However, we were separated through the Berlin Wall as a western part of the city, and this is the last district to be gentrified and changed. So you definitely see a lot of the change as you walk through it. There's a lot of, if you like baklava at all, it is very, very popular in this area. It's also very inexpensive. These are also really good. A lot of the shops have these cakes, and I mean, can I see the price on them? They say €3. That's actually a little expensive. A lot of times I've seen these cakes in shops like that, and they're, I mean, €1. Like even €1.50 is like, whoa, why are you so expensive? They're usually very, very cheap. Yeah, it even says Sun Avenue, which would be Sonnenallee in English. How funny. I wasn't the only one who decided to like literally translate the name of it. This is a very, I guess the word would be working class district. You don't see much wealth being displayed in this area, but you typically don't see that anywhere around Germany anyway. Germans aren't very flashy and showy when it comes to money. It's not really a normal thing. Waiting for the light to turn green. A lot of times, for those of you who've never been to Germany, it's actually super illegal to jaywalk. So I do follow the rules, especially when I'm here. A lot of times you will have cops who do pop out of the woodworks and they will give you a ticket for jaywalking. It doesn't happen that often, but there's always cops around looking. This is a really good organic supermarket, Bio company. So definitely watch out if you are ever in Germany, especially outside of Berlin, where like it's more actual Germany. You will definitely see a lot of times people will be getting tickets for jaywalking. Usually people don't jaywalk at all. It's actually incredibly rare to do so. So interesting. Everything there was super Instagrammable. It's very, very funny. If you have a chance, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, there's a documentary from the 90s, I want to say. And it's about the youth who lived in this area during the 90s and when it had like a really bad reputation. And basically how they lived their lives and how they were treated. And they talk about how people who were German didn't treat them correctly, so they kind of lashed out in this way. This is part of the reason why the area also had a negative reputation, because people who didn't feel like they belonged. So this avenue actually goes down for a very, I mean, there's about another 12 blocks of this left. I think I might end it actually on this street. Just wanted to make sure that you got to see what the area was like. There's a lot of people do hear about this area, and they still have a bit of a negative idea as to what it is. But this was the Sonnenallee in Neukölln. Yeah, I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. But I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.